Uisce Éireann has admitted it's embarrassed by instances of raw sewage discharge at Clare beaches. The water utility was fined €32,000 by the Environmental Protection Agency last October for offences relating to discharges in Lahinch and Miltown Malbay. Following his presentation to members of Clare County Council's Economic Development Strategic Policy Committee this week, Uisce Éireann's John Dempsey was asked by the Lahinch Fine Gael Councillor Slattery what measures are being taken to ensure water is of a sufficient quality going forward. The meeting also heard from Ennis Fianna Fáil Councillor Daly, who raised the long-running debacle of Noel O'Loughlin, who's been trying to build additional needs accommodation in Ruan for over 20 years, but is unable to do so due to insufficient wastewater capacity. Clare FM's Sean Lyons was at the meeting and first caught up with Councillor Slattery in relation to the issues in Lahinch.
This broadcast package on Clare FM is funded by the Local Democracy Reporting Scheme.
Of all the councillors that were there today, we were all kind of parochial as regards our own area, and I was very concerned as regards the sewage treatment plant in Lahinch and in Uisce Éireann. Lahinch is totally non-functional. I challenged today, last year the EPA had Uisce Éireann in courts for discharging into the Fianna River, which resulted in the sea in Lahinch, and that resulted in the blue flag. We're losing the blue flag. Now, I understand from people and from lifeguards in Lahinch last year that people were getting sick while they were swimming from raw faeces that was coming from the Fianna River after the discharges from the treatment plant in Lahinch. And I just felt that Uisce Éireann, at that time they were fined by the courts. The EPA fined them around 20 or 25,000 euros for that discharge. That discharge didn't happen only once. It happened, I think, 3 times last year. And the same happened in Miltown Malbay, discharging onto Spanish Point Beach, and the flag was lost there as well. And I just felt that, the question I asked today was, is there any embarrassment with Uisce Éireann being in court, being up in the courts after these discharges? And there doesn't seem to be, it's only a small fraction of 20 or 25,000. So we'll keep prolonging the refurbishment of the plant because we can afford to pay that 20 or 25,000. That's not good enough for my area in Lahinch, which is a tourist area, and Spanish Point and Miltown Malbay. And we were told at last month's meeting that the refurbishment in Lahinch and Uisce Éireann is not going to take place until at least 2030 or 2031. It's such a vast tourist area, depending on tourism. And I, as a local councillor for that area, I'm very disappointed that priority is not being given to that area.
And you did ask that question, is Uisce Éireann embarrassed by these instances? John Dempsey of Uisce Éireann responded saying that they are embarrassed, but did you hear anything from him to suggest that there will be anything done ahead of, as you say, the important tourism season and international events that are coming to the region very soon?
Well, as you have said, I did ask him what's the plan for this year. Is there going to be more discharges onto the Fianna River, which, as I said, results in the sea in Lahinch? And he wasn't really, he said he'll come back to me on that for what plans they have for desludging the treatment plants in Uisce Éireann and Lahinch and Miltown Malbay. But that's not good enough. We can't say to the people in Lahinch, come to Lahinch this year, we'll have the blue flags up and it's safe for swimming when people are actually getting sick. They're talking about the environment, but as was stated at the last meeting, this is not the environment, this is actually a serious health situation, because as I said, I know the people were getting sick last year from the water in Lahinch, which was coming from from the discharges from those treatment plants, and that's not good enough.
Is it discouraging to hear that there isn't any immediate plan to remedy the situation, given that in a separate context today we heard the Uisce Éireann representative talk about priorities and how certain projects, while they're on the agenda for Uisce Éireann, they're just too far down the list? And is that how Lahinch feels, that it's too far down the list, that it's not getting the attention it deserves, and that other areas are getting perhaps preferential treatment?
Well, I suppose in all fairness to John Dempsey today, the spokesperson for Uisce Éireann, he did say that this was as a result of years of lack of investment by, I suppose, local authorities at the time, and then Irish Water or Uisce Éireann as it is now, and they're just finding it very difficult to get the money, the funding to upgrade these plants.
So there's a serious game of catch-up going on at the moment.
Exactly, a serious game of catch-up. And I remember that treatment plant in Lahinch was built in 1974. And that's a long time ago. That was for a population of around 1,000 people at that time. Now there's about 10 or 20,000 people coming into the area for the summer season, and the treatment plant should have been prioritised years ago as a tourist destination, and it's just not good enough.
When it comes to housing, there was a mention today of the capacity register, Uisce Éireann's capacity register, and there are 3 areas in the county where no development can take place because of a lack of wastewater connectivity. Again, did you hear any signs for hope today out of the meeting? There was a mention, of course, of developer-led infrastructure. Will that be a panacea maybe to the problem?
Well, as you know, there's a variation plan going through at the moment, and we have discussed different areas of lands that were taken, that were dezoned back in the last in the county development plan in 2023, which I wasn't involved in that, but we've been asked now to bring back in lands on the outskirts of villages and towns and villages, and they're hopefully we won't see that until next Friday. What's on that plan, the variation is going to be released next Friday of what's added, but unfortunately, whatever is added, I don't think that development is going to take place, because it says the services have to be provided, and we haven't got the services in Lahinch or Ennis or Miltown Malbay, so I can't see any development or planning permissions possibly being granted. So I don't know what the reason of the rezoning was again for when the services aren't there, and it's going to be disappointing. I think that to get planning through is going to be very difficult.
Chairperson of Clare County Council's Economic Development SPC, Ennis Fianna Fáil, Councillor Pat Daly, thanks very much for speaking to me this morning. At today's meeting of the Economic Development SPC, we heard a presentation from John Dempsey of Uisce Éireann, which touched on a number of issues, including one particular matter that you raised, the story of Noel O'Loughlin, a developer from Ruan, who is looking to build a number of units for people with additional needs in Ruan, has been doing so, or attempting to do so, for the last 20 years, and most recently in the last couple of weeks he's withdrawn his latest application. You asked, is there any roadmap, is there any possibility for Noel to get those properties, those houses built? What did you get in response?
Yeah, he kind of said like that it is down the list, but he would have a look at it. But I mean, it is important to the villages around the county, and a couple of delegates at the meeting spoke about the small, likes of Tulla and Ruan and Kilkishen, these areas, that there's very little future for development there. You know, the sewage isn't there. And it's important, the likes of Ruan, I think, you know, to go further. You know, they need the likes of those 18 houses and possible other developments in Ruan. You know, there's a pub and there's a shop in Ruan, and that's it. You know what I mean? I remember Ruan many years ago when there was 3 pubs there, like, you know, and it was a vibrant area. And I think to get that back and to get the people involved, you need development. And the Toolmore treatment plant is crying out for upgrade. And why in the name of God Irish Water can't do it? You know, they'll do it for the big cities and the big towns around, but they won't do it for the small villages, which is totally against the grain.
It comes down to balanced regional development and rural depopulation, really, doesn't it? Because if you're talking about Ruan and you're saying you can build houses there, but not for another 10 years until we get around to upgrading the wastewater treatment system there, that could be too late for a community like that.
It will, like, and in fairness to Mr. O'Loughlin there, he's put a huge effort in there. You know, he has produced a fine site there where 18 houses can go in there, a lot of disabled people, which would be good for the community, you know. And, you know, that Irish Water are not helping him out in any way, like, you know. He might have to go down another way, a new scheme of storage scheme, like, but you know, at the end of the day, Irish Water should have the red carpet out for the likes of those people, the likes of Mr. O'Loughlin. Where, you know, and there are other people that want to develop in Ruan, I believe, that the red carpet should be out for them. I mean, they're providing houses. Here we have the government rolling and shouting, looking for houses. We want houses for people. These people are prepared to do that, and Irish Water are not delivering.
Turning to the county town then, and matters relating to Ennis, we heard today about significant issues building homes and getting wastewater connectivity in the south of Ennis and in Clare Castle, due largely to the Clare Abbey wastewater treatment plant and capacity there. There was word today that there will be an expansion of that plant in the near future.
Yeah, that's very, very welcome, because it's the south of Ennis, about 30% of land there through the, you know, the community of Ennis and Clare Castle, and it is important. I mean, you have commercial as well. You have the likes of Lidl in Mickey Lynch's side. You have a potential factory in Rosh, and there's residential potential all over the place in Ballybeg and different places. And it's important, he said there was 74 million spent in the last 10 years. And I know that the upgrade of Clare Abbey treatment plant was there, but there shouldn't be a situation now where there's less capacity, there isn't enough capacity. That's not right, you know what I mean? But in fairness to him, he was very positive. And he said like that, these people will get their planning,
This broadcast package on Clare FM is funded by the Local Democracy Reporting Scheme.